This is a deck tech for my Pauper Eggs list. It's a combo list, and it can play a bit more on the aggro or control side of the spectrum, depending on what you need. So, let's start out with the creatures in this deck. There's only 8 of them, but they're all very good, and my mulligan plan right now is to try and find them in a hand of 7, 6, or 5. So first up is Aetherium Sculptor. This guy's great because he makes all of our eggs free. Disciple of the Vault is similar. He doesn't make any of our eggs free, but he does let us get value out of all of them by just pinging the opponent every time you crack one. Next up, we've got the eggs themselves. So we're running the standard 4 Chromatic Sphere, 4 Chromatic Star, and 4 Conjurer's Bauble. We've also got 3 Terrarians. I'm only running less of these because they enter the battlefield tapped. However, they are good because, like Chromatic Star, the draw card isn't part of their ability, so that'll be relevant a few cards from now. We're also running 3 Lotus Petal for mana acceleration, and 4 Pyrite Spellbomb to serve either as removal or just an extra draw. Now, it's getting to our spells that we see a bit of affinity creeping in. So we've got Thoughtcast, and we've got Galvanic Blast. Thoughtcast, of course, draws us into more gas. Galvanic Blast is just excellent removal or an extra 4 damage to the face, all for the cost of 1 mana. We've also got Kuldotha Rebirth, and this is one of the all-star cards of the list. This lets us get 3 goblins for the cost of an artifact, and we're running a lot of artifacts. In the ideal case, you can sacrifice either a Terrarion or a Chromatic Star. Well, you have a Disciple of the Vault, or more than one on the field, get off some damage, draw a card, and get 3 goblins for 1 mana. So, whenever that situation arises, it feels really good to play this card. And even if you're just sacrificing one of the artifact lands, you're still getting decent value in the form of 3 chump blockers or 3 extra attackers. And those attackers will help you get in more damage, or in blocking they can gain so much life. Against, like, a Gurmag Angler, Kuldotha Rebirth might read gain 15 life, which is very nice. Then we've got our main combo finisher, Scrapyard Salvo. This just lets us turn all of our dead eggs into damage, and we've got 4 of them, just because we want to hit as many of them as possible. Then, for the lands, we've got 4 Great Furnace, 4 Seed of the Synod, and 4 Vault of Whispers. We've also got 2 mountains and 2 islands. Now, the basics are less good for Thoughtcast and Galvanic Blast, but the deck really needs blue and red. And even with all these fixing artifacts and the Lotus Petals, I find that it's just not enough to be consistently hitting those colors when you need them, especially with the double red and Scrapyard Salvo. So I threw in 2 mountains and 2 islands instead of maybe 4 Darksteel Citadel. You notice that there's only 16 lands with hardly anything else being mana producing, but the deck can work on low mana, and when we're trying to combo off, hitting a land off one of the eggs just shuts off gas for a turn. So that's the main deck. Going to the sideboard, we've got 2 Vidalcan Searcharks, and these guys are just really nice in the control role. So if there's a board that's gone wide, but there's only 1 real attacker, then you can just tap that down every turn. And this doesn't only tap down creatures, it can also tap down lands. So if you're going against an opponent running the bounce lands, you can shut off 2 of their mana each turn when you have one of these guys out. Only problem is he needs Metalcraft, but that's not too much of a problem in this deck. It just means hitting 1 or 2 artifact lands and a couple of eggs, which we have plenty of support for. So 2 of those guys, 2 dispels. We put these in to help push through counter magic, especially in the case of Scrapyard Salvo, because we don't want our 10, 12, 14 damage getting countered, although that's a somewhat optimistic amount. Even just 8 damage for 3 mana, we definitely want to push through with a Dispel, because we don't really have a way to recur that. The Diabolic Edicts are a good general case removal for decks that only run one big threat and then try to protect it. So your Gurmag Anglers, your Nivik Cyclopses, this is perfect for fighting them. Next we've got 2 Swirling Sandstorms, and what these do, I hope, is just destroy go-wide strategies that try to land a bunch of guys on board and then just swing with all of them. So this could be really good against, say, elves. And I'm not entirely sure about it yet, but it's something that the sideboard needs, and I think it fills that role quite nicely. The threshold might be slightly hard to reach in aggro games, but you're not casting this in games against an aggro deck. Yeah. Then we've got 3 Aether Spell Bombs. These are just good for removing a threat for a turn at instant speed, so one of these will really discourage a Delver deck going all in on a Nivik Cyclops or on a Kiln Fiend. It'll reset a Delver if that's really necessary. It can also just draw a card, and of course, this thing loves to bounce Gurmag Angler, because you've just used up however many of their cards in graveyard, so they have to recast him for maybe his whole mana cost at that point. And finally, we've got 3 Nile Spell Bombs. This is just tech against Dredge and stuff that use the graveyard. Yeah. We can sacrifice it to just get rid of someone's graveyard. We can also draw a card off of it even after using that ability. So that's really nice. And it's the only new spell bomb that I'm running in here. The other 2 spell bombs, Aether and Pyrite, are from old Mirrodin sets. And Nile's from the Scars cycle. So anyway, that's the Pauper Eggs deck. And I think that it's pretty consistent and powerful at this point. Yeah. But that's the list.